This is the video for sections 6.4 and 6.6. And what we're looking at is all the properties of a quadrilaterals. And we're going to start with parallelograms, that we know that a pair of opposite sides are congruent. That means that this is equal to this. This one is equal to this one. A pair of opposite sides are parallel. What that means is that this side and this side are parallel to each other, as of this one and this one over here. The diagonals bisect. What that means is that the diagonals, when they meet, they're cut in half. That means this section is equal to this section. I'm not going to make any more notations on the diagonals, even though they all bisect, so this pair also bisects. It's just too many notations in one picture. Consecutive angles are supplementary. What that means is the angles next to each other are equal to 180. So this one and this one would equal 180, but so will these two if I say this one and this one. So what I'm going to write is that angle A plus angle B is equal to 180. The other one that's not on here is that opposite angles are congruent. Don't forget that on the opposite angles, they are equal to each other. This one right here is a rectangle. The definition of a rectangle is a quadrilateral that has all right angles. So for right angles, and the diagonals are congruent. So once you have your diagonals, this one is equal to this one, just like the picture before, because it is a type of parallelogram. But now this one is special because this one is equal to this one. These two are not equal. These two are not equal to this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make the notation now that this segment is not equal to this segment, but it is on here. The diagonals are congruent, and then it has all the properties of parallelograms. So on this one, the opposite sides are congruent. On this one, the opposite sides are parallel. The diagonals bisect each other. Consecutive angles are equal to 180 for a rectangle, and opposite angles are congruent. Well, it makes sense, right? If the consecutive angles equal 180, that means this one plus this one equals 180. 90 plus 90. On this one, these are still consecutive. 90 plus 90 is still 180, and opposite angles are still equal to each other. 90 is equal to 90. For a square, we have all the sides are congruent. We have all right angles. So to be a square, it has to have those two conditions, that it has both right angles and congruent sides. It has all the properties of a rectangle, so we already know that it has 90 degrees and that the diagonals are congruent. It also has all the properties of a parallelogram, all of them. And it has the properties of a rhombus. Don't forget, a square is a type of rhombus. A square is also a type of rectangle. All right, for this one is the rhombus. What makes a rhombus is four congruent sides. Means this is equal to this, and this, and this. Once something has been identified a rhombus, then we know the diagonals are perpendicular. What does that mean? They intersect at 90 degrees. So that's 90 degrees. So don't forget, since a square is a type of rhombus, then these also intersect at 90 degrees. That means this is 90 degrees right here. And the diagonals are equal, so all of these sections are equal to each other. Okay, it follows all the properties of a parallelogram, so opposite sides are congruent, opposite angles are congruent, angles next to each other equal 180, and the rest of the properties of a parallelogram. This is a trapezoid. A trapezoid has only one pair of parallel sides. And that's what makes it special, what makes a trapezoid, that it only has one pair. And then it says the legs' angles are supplementary. What does that mean? That means that the A plus B is equal to 180. Remember, these are parallel lines cut by a transversal, so that means that these are consecutive interior angles, and they equal 180. So I'm going to write here angle A plus angle B is equal to 180. It works if the A and B were here as well, but be careful, these do not equal 180. And then this is a kite. A kite has two pair of adjacent. Adjacent means next to. So we're talking about this one is equal to this one. And then this one is equal to this one. A pair of adjacent sides are congruent. The diagonals are also perpendicular on this one. So the diagonals being perpendicular are true on a rhombus and on a square, but not in a rectangle and not on a parallelogram. So these are perpendicular. The diagonals are perpendicular. And the small diagonal is bisected. What does that mean? That this side is equal to this side.